You want to know what no one tells you about buying land? Listen to this. Over the past couple weeks, I got to know a landowner that bought a 1.5 acre piece of land with his wife just 12 months ago. And then the other day, he decided that he really needed to sell. You see, the property had been listed on the market with a real estate agent for about $25,000 when he bought it. And that's about the price that he paid. But shortly after buying that land, his wife had tragically passed away. And then the resulting income interruption for his family created massive financial hardship. So he was motivated to sell the land as quickly as he could, and he was flexible on price, even if it meant selling for less than he bought it for. When we looked at the property, we could see that the market value today was at least what it was when he bought it, or so we initially thought. But what we found out later was, in the process of trying to buy the land ourselves, unbeknownst to us and the seller, the property he was selling had marginal soils, meaning that even though he bought that land for a future home, you actually can't install conventional septic systems on the property. The only kind of septic that you can use is what's called an engineered septic system. No big deal, right? Wrong. Conventional septic systems cost about $8,000 to install, but engineered septic systems cost about $35,000 up front, and that's not even including annual maintenance every year. That's a $27,000 difference in construction costs just on the septic system alone. And that difference was not taken into account when the guy bought the property last year. So the point is, and the reason that matters, is that the market value of the land that he bought for $25,000 is no longer $25,000. It's much less, maybe half, maybe even less than that. But the question is, how could this possibly have been missed? Because remember, the property was listed on the market, which means that there was a listing agent representing the seller, and he also had a separate buyer's agent representing him and his wife as the buyer. But wait, there's more. There was also a manufactured home dealer that was supporting the buyer as well. The manufactured home dealer was hoping that they could get the business for the home construction once the property got closed. Now, the manufactured home dealer was also the one that put in the septic permit application, and they were the one that was dealing with the county that initially got the notice that you were not able to install conventional septic. And in spite of the fact that this had a massive impact on the property's value, it never came up. The seller told me that this was all news to them. Like, they learned about this for the first time last week. And yet, if they had two agents and a home builder coordinating the details of due diligence and the septic permit was the most important single thing, how could that be missed? Apparently, the seller went into his email in his inbox and he found a one-off email message from the year before where there was an attachment with the denied septic permit and nothing to follow. No conversation from the agent, no call from the home dealer, no follow-up on whether that would change anything for the buyer. And so the buyer did what they always wanted to do, which is to send the $25,000 into escrow at closing and to buy the land that he and his wife always wanted at twice the price that they could ever hope to sell it for in the future. If you're looking to buy land for investment, recreation, or to build a future home, the first thing that no one tells you is that you will not have that much support. Despite their best intentions, please understand that real estate agents don't understand land. They will not help you research your land. They don't know how to value your land, and they won't know how to perform due diligence on your land, even if they wanted to. You, just by watching this YouTube channel and implementing the information that we share with you, will understand the fundamentals of land acquisitions more than the majority of real estate agents in the United States, even if you have no prior experience whatsoever. If this weren't true, there's no way that I would ever produce a video online and publish it to YouTube for everybody to see, but it is. Now, I want to be clear. Some agents are really sharp when it comes to land. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, guys, but understand the overwhelming majority are not. The point is that no one is going to do your homework for you. You just got to get that. The buyer's agent, even if they get paid a commission and they have an incentive, the reality is their money's not on the line and yours is. When your money's on the line, it's you that needs to pay attention. So next, when it comes to land, is that soil is 80% of the game and almost no one understands it. What do I mean by game? Well, I mean money, value, development potential. The game is the game. That's what I mean. Look, I publish entire videos on the relationship between soil and land value. And I've walked through several examples that we've seen firsthand of rural land that would be worth $30,000 all day that instead sold for $6,000 when the soil report went bad. There's a lot of angles to this topic of why soil matters. There's agricultural value, there's geotechnical analysis when it comes to home construction, there's wetlands delineation and all this type of environmental stuff. But at the end of the day, all of those factors of soil pale in comparison to one, and that's septic. You see, outside the cities and towns that have the municipal water and sewer grid, 97% of American land is located in rural areas that require septic. And in those locations, septic is king. Until you perform a preliminary soil evaluation to understand the soil conditions on your property, you really don't know whether and even to what extent the land is actually going to be useful for residential development. This fact is routinely ignored by landowners and their listing agents who are marketing property at exorbitant prices whose actual market value has yet to be determined. So much of the value of a rural piece of land is to have just enough usable soil for one septic system, for just one home. But a lot of rural land in the coastal plains of the east coast of the United States doesn't even have that. And so the same residential tract of land that might be worth $45,000 or $50,000 as a home site might instead sell for $10,000 to the next door neighbor so they can extend their yard and build a utility shed. You might think, hey, if the soil conditions are that impactful to value, then I'll just go out and walk the property myself. I'll put my boots on, I'll drive out, and I'll take a look and see. But really you can't, because the aspects of soil depth and drainage characteristics that drive potential for septic systems are generally not visible from the ground. Not only that, you have to hire a soil scientist who has specialized training when it comes to diagnosing the characteristics of soil 36 inches or more below the surface. Tens of thousands of dollars of market value are won and lost at the stroke of a pen whenever it comes to soil and septic, and yet the fundamentals of this relationship to land value is generally not well understood by the vast majority of real estate agents, except for a very select few. What you have to know for right now is that most agents will give you misleading or incomplete information on soil and septic if they're able to provide any information at all. So you always want to work with soil scientists, work with county environmental health, and make sure that you know what you're buying. Complicating things even further is the fact that most land that's listed on the market is overpriced. For example, let's take a look at Pender County, North Carolina, which is a rural county right outside Wilmington. When you look at the market for 10 to 20 acre tracts of land, you see that 21 such properties sold in the last 12 months, and that the median sold price of those properties is $146,000 that is represented by this listing right here. When you look at the current inventory for sale in this same market at this same acreage range, what you find is that there's 12 current listings. And of those 12 current listings, the median list price is much higher. It's $249,500, which means that when you actually estimate based on the data, the sold data and the for sale data, you see that what is listed on the market is overpriced by approximately 70% on a comparable sales basis. Furthermore, when you go through the current inventory, you see that only 2 out of the 12 listings for sale today on the market are priced below the last 12-month median sold price of $146,000. Some people might be watching this thinking, hey man, why not just overprice the land just a little bit? Hey, I get it, right? Because you don't want to leave money on the table. And if you can get a buyer to pay you a little bit more, why not try? The main reason why you wouldn't do that is because overpriced land will never sell. And the act of overpricing the property actually creates longer days on market, which eliminates the psychology of scarcity and often leads to properties selling for less than they might have otherwise. Take a look at this 15-acre listing on Shiloh Road in Ivanhoe, North Carolina. After offering the property at a relatively high list price of $210,900, they got some initial feedback from the market that said that, look, the price is a little bit high for a lot of buyers. So what this agent and seller did is they actually dropped price after about a month on the market to $165,000. $100,000, at which point in just 3 weeks, the property went under contract, and 2 months after that, it sold at $160,000. Now, on the other hand, this 20-acre listing in Burgos priced at $325,000, and after 6 months on the market, it's not moving. No one's interested. See, land that is priced competitively doesn't sit on the market like this, and without analyzing it in too much detail, I would actually guess that the property that's listed at $325,000 is potentially worth about half of what they're asking, and maybe a little bit less. When you introduce a piece of land at a good price that might even be a little bit less than what you might be able to get for it, what ends up happening is you create a competitive dynamic with your buyers that can lead to multiple offer situations and offers that might even come in above asking price. For example, take a look at this 15-acre listing in Burgos. This was the median sold property from the last 12 months. When you look, it was actually listed at $145,000. But if you see what happened next, it sold 2 months after that at $146,000, which is $1,000 above asking price. Now, people might be thinking in the back of their minds, hey man, well, maybe the current listings for sale are priced higher because the market's appreciating. Or maybe the properties that are for sale are better than the ones that sold, and it's not a fully representative sample. And look, on some level, that may be the case. That might be true. But the thing is, even if it is true, it doesn't matter, because the reality is I can just run this same analysis in any market in the country and show you the exact same thing. The trend is clear, which is that land on the market tends to be overpriced. Agents don't know how to price land generally. And a lot of landowners also give in to ivory tower thinking, and they believe their own mythology when it comes to the unique value of their land. I know that sounds controversial, but it's not a big secret. But this is, list price for vacant land is irrelevant to market price. The two are often very much unrelated. When a piece of land has been on the market for 6 months and it's not selling, the market has already rejected that price. Buyers in the market don't take it seriously, and neither should you. Focus on what the land is actually worth and build your offer based on that. Land is going to routinely sell for 30 to 50% below initial asking price because buyers like us don't get to live in the ivory tower. Buyers like us, we live in the dirt, the weeds, and the grass of the here and now. And when you make an offer below asking price, you may get some initial resistance, but over time, it's the reality of your offer. It's the fact that your offer is actually real that will ultimately win over a lot of the agents and sellers and get them to come around and see things the way that they really are. So don't be discouraged. Land value is all about quality, not quantity. When you talk to agents about land, especially when you get into price, they love to talk in terms of price per acre. How many acres you got? 52? Well, okay. Yeah, land around here goes for about $5,000 to $8,000 per acre. No, it doesn't. Price per acre is not a reliable metric of value when it comes to residential land, but that is not going to stop everybody from pretending that it is. Look, bigger isn't always better. Better is better. Here's what I mean. If I had to name the factors that I would consider better predictors of land value than just acreage or size, there would be a number of obvious ones right off the bat. Road access, neighborhood home values, soil conditions, topography, zoning. I mean, those are just the obvious ones. To see what I mean, let's take a look at 2 larger tracts of land that sold in St. Johns County, Florida, just outside of Jacksonville. Here's a 20-acre property that sold at $600,000, and you can actually see why. I mean, look, it's beautiful. There's large open fields, relatively flat terrain. It's a nice neighborhood, and you have extensive road frontage on that private road. And just a few miles away from this exact location, you have a property that is 56 acres that sold at $285,000, less than half the price of the previous property, despite being almost 3 times the size. This property has a series of limitations that impact its value that range from a lack of road access, undeveloped easement for the driveway that would cost a lot of money to install. You have a prevalence of wetlands and a very limited development potential as a result of all those things. If you like this video and you want to learn more about how soil can actually impact land prices by up to 80%. I know it sounds outrageous, but it's true. I'm gonna leave a link right here to another video on our channel that I think you're really going to enjoy.